Thank you, everybody, for joining DC Villages for a community conversation. We're very pleased to have here today with us Ms. Sudi Tasissa from the Consumer Protection Advocate with the district's Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking. I'm sure I'm not the only one who's received, pretty much every day a couple of emails or phone calls that are trying to get some information out of me that should not be given out. And so I welcome the opportunity to learn more and to get the reminders on best practices for detecting fraud and some tools to help us all stay safe. Ms. Tasisa, take it away.
Okay. Can you hear me? Oh, great. Good morning, everyone. My name is Sudi Tasissa. I am the Consumer Protection Advocate with the Department of Insurance, Securities and Banking, or for short, DISB. So today we'll talk about fraud and the best medicine, as always, is prevention. So if you can prevent it, if you can detect and prevent it, that is the best outcome. If not, we'll also go through what you can do to report it and try to recover any money lost. So I will. Okay, I'll get started with who we are, what DISB does, so that you're aware of what our agency does. And if you have other complaints, you can also come to us. So we are DISB's DC's financial services regulator. So we regulate and enforce banking, insurance, securities laws. So anything to do with those, you can come to DISB. If you have any issues relating, say, your insurance company, you can come to DISB. So in executing these, we have three goals. One is to cultivate a regulatory environment that protects consumers, but also attracts the financial services firms that we use. The second is to provide financing for small businesses. And the third is to empower and educate our residents so that our residents are protected and financially savvy. So this is just a disclaimer language saying, none of this is legal advice. This is just for informational purposes. And if you have any legal concerns, of course, I encourage you to talk to an attorney. So before I jump into it, I just want to give you context because I think a lot of people know that fraud is an issue, and with AI and technology and everything pretty much going online, I think we're all concerned about our presence online. But just to put in perspective how severe of a problem it is, it's not just millions of people falling victims, it's also just billions of dollars getting lost. So in 2024, the FTC reported that American citizens or people in the United States lost more than $12.5 billion to fraud. So that's not in millions, that's in the billions. Before I came here, I was trying to compare how many countries even have a 12.5 GDP, because that is such a high number. And I'm not sure if this is an accurate number, but Google told me it's at least higher than 54 countries. So that is a very high amount that is going to fraud. And that is also exponentially increasing because there's a 25% increase from 2023. So to get more local, in DC, consumers reported losing $30 million to fraud in 2024. And again, these are just reported cases. So there are cases that don't get reported because people are sometimes too embarrassed to report it, or they think, they should have been smart enough and caught it. And so they just don't report it. But we do encourage people to report it because that gives them the best chance to recover their money. So for older adults, about 75% report experiencing a scam attempt. I find that pretty low. I thought everybody, I expected that to be almost 100% because I get at least one message a day about some remote job or some kind of or that my UPS has been delivered, but it's a brand new number. So I hope the 25% also are just not, clicking those links. And about 37% of older adults fall victim to these financial exploitation methods. So that's a pretty high number, and we hope to bring it down. We're working not just on this, but also regulation to make it harder for fraudsters to advance their schemes. So we have, in addition to education, we're also doing other things that we hope would help. So today, the things I want people to take away is to just how to identify it, to say, is this a scam versus this is not a scam, this is a legitimate. Maybe my Amazon delivery was, arrived and they're texting me to let me know, or is this just, a scam that is trying to get me to click that link. So we also will talk about the common tactics they use, and most importantly, what you can do to protect yourself and report any kind of scams and scam attempts. So just to put in perspective, you might be wondering, how do they try to reach people? And I like this chart because it compares how they try to reach people, and it also shows the amount of loss. So what this tells me is that, so here you can tell email to be one of the most contact methods reported. So email is the number one way they're trying to reach people. So they're emailing you, they're saying all types of things. If you're trying to buy a car, I'm sure people have received those scam messages. The second one is phone call. So they're calling you, telling you, the IRS is out to get you and you should pay your taxes. Text messages is the most common type I receive. I get text all the time. And social media, website. So these are, and as you can see, email is the most reported. But when you look at the number of the total loss, social media is where the total loss, that's almost $2 billion in total loss. And so what that says is that people are still trusting on social media when they see an advertisement that could be not legitimate. So people are still clicking it, when it's advertised on social media, they're still trusting that it's legitimate, and they're spending their money and the item doesn't arrive, and then they realize this is a scam. I've experienced something like this. I didn't actually end up purchasing it, but I was just buying plates, and it just started counting down. It said these were, I think these plates cost maybe $100, and I was thinking, oh, these are great plates, I'm gonna get them. And somehow they're like $40 on the website, and it's counting down. It's saying I have 10 minutes to buy these plates, or the sale is gone. And I'm thinking to myself, oh, these are just plates. I don't need this sense of urgency to buy plates. And so I'm just, I'm like, okay, I don't need to decide on plates. I'll just close my computer, and I'll just think about this a different time. And I come back and I open my computer, and it just says you have 10 minutes again. And so I'm like, oh, this is a scam. And so I Googled the website, and it said this was not a legitimate website. But just to say, just because you see it on social media, it doesn't necessarily mean it's legitimate. Website or apps are, the other category includes several other things, but website and apps are also a category where people are getting defrauded. And then, of course, phone call, email, and texts are also still ways in which people continue to get scammed. So, but just to be on the lookout for, even if it's getting advertised on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, it does not mean that the owners of those companies have vetted them and determined that they're legitimate. So fraud trends, this is to say, why we'll be talking about some of the items we'll be talking about. So investment scams, we lost about 4.7 billion as a nation That's a 24% increase since 2023. Imposter scams are the second most popular. Imposter scams are also the most reported category. So it looks like people are catching them, but also at the same time, people are also frequently losing money. Business and opportunity scams, especially if there's any type of economic slowdown, people tend to get a lot more of those messages where, especially when in the environment when people are losing their jobs, this tends to be one way they target people to entice them to click on these things. Online shopping is also another most reported. I imagine that might be because people order things and they never receive it. And of course, our next thing is to report it. So again, the other includes several other categories. So I didn't put a number, but that totals about 12.5 billion. In DC, it's pretty much, it mimics the national trend. Investment is also the most amount of loss in DC. Government and business imposter, that if you combine them, that actually is higher than the investment as far as total number of reports, but is a close second if you just categorize the imposter together. Romance scams are still a big issue in DC. Of course, real estate and pyramid and multi-level marketing also tend to be a problem. But it's still online shopping and business imposter scams are also, online shopping is the second most reported. So it continues to be a big issue, and people are still continuing to report that it is a big issue. It maybe the loss may be lower because people may not be purchasing just high purchases versus investment scams. People tend to invest a lot of money when they do choose to invest. So just to be on the lookout for investment, especially investment, online shopping, and any kind of letter you receive saying they're either a government or a business, either collecting money or saying you owe some type of a balance. So these are some common red flags that are consistent throughout all of the categories. Some of the red flags. So if you're getting a call, email from just a random number, say, I think most people may be familiar with this, to not just share any information, not your financial information, your personal information, and to not give them anything, just to receive what they have to say and to hang up, and then you determine, you take your time and respond, not urgently, but after you've done your research. Requests for sensitive information, usually they give you and urgency follows. So urgency and asking for sensitive information go hand in hand. They usually say, if you don't pay this now, it will double tomorrow, or this is the last day, we're calling you today because your fine is going to double tomorrow. So they're creating this urgency and a sense of convenience, saying, I'm already on the phone, we can take care of this now, and you can hang up. So if they're asking you for sensitive information, just again, the best thing to do, let's say if they're saying they're calling from IRS, is to hang up the phone and then you go look up the phone number for IRS, Google it, ask someone and then you call them and say, do I owe money? But don't call them back on the same number they called you with, because that could also just land you in the same place you were. So just verifying the information either on Google or with a trusted person. Typically, it's too good to be true. This tends to be more true in investment scams. They're telling you, put $1,000 and I'll give you 10,000 back. And typical return of 5 to 10% is usually considered very good. And if they're offering something that is much higher than that, it's not an automatic signal that it's that is a scam, but it should raise a red flag. If a person is saying, I will have a return of 100%, or there are people who are good at their jobs, but usually those people don't seek out other people to invest money. If they're good at their job, they're not, knocking at people's doorsteps to ask for money. Poor grammar and spelling. We actually learned they do this on purpose to see if you catch it. This could be because one, they want to target people who may not have formalized education. Second, it's also, if you're rushing, you're less likely to notice a grammatical error than if you're just sitting down and focused and reading something. So they want a person to be responsive at a time where they're either not paying attention, or if a person is not catching them, they're not being careful enough. So they put these in to make sure that they vet out people who may be vigilant. So if you see it, just take it as a red flag. And not to say government agencies don't make typos, but they don't make several typos in an email. They maybe one or two. So today we'll talk about romance scams because they continue to be an issue in DC. We'll talk about investment and crypto fraud. We'll talk about card skimming. This is not the most common trends, but I'll talk about it because it is something you can easily avoid. And also the IRS or government impersonation scams, which could also be business impersonation scams. So romance scams have become a bigger issue because of online dating. So people create their online profile. They're not sure if the person who they're seeing on the other side of the screen that has these pictures is actually the person, or if they're simply just using someone else's picture. So it's created a situation where people cannot confirm unless they meet in person. So the reason why we're talking about this is in 2024, the loss to romance scams is around 1.2 billion. And for DC, the estimated total loss is 2.838 million. So that's a pretty high loss. And this is, again, most people are getting contacted through either dating app or social media. So the red flags to look out for is, of course, usually when we interact with a person a lot, the natural reaction is to meet up with them, to talk to them in person, to communicate with them using video chat. And nowadays, if they can't get on the video and they can't meet you, there's just too many technological, we've advanced technologically enough for almost everyone to get on a video chat or to meet in person. So that should be a huge red flag. I think the complication now becomes with AI, how we're going to overcome a person using either filters or other methods to also video chat using either a filter or some kind of AI. But that we haven't really gotten that far yet. So at the moment, if they can't meet with you or through video chat, that should be a red flag. They ask you to send money or cryptocurrency. This is true, especially after you video chatted. I mean, you haven't video chatted, you haven't met them in person, and now they're asking you for some kind of money. That's usually personal emergencies. I needed to make a payment to, I'll get evicted. And usually people are empathetic. They want to help a person they care about. So they give that money, or they say, send me a gift card so I can purchase these things, or they're experiencing some kind of financial challenge, or they'll say, my phone will be cut off, or I can't talk to you if I don't, if you don't pay for this. But be very cautious to send money to a person you have not met. And even if you've met them, be cautious if a person is asking you to send them money very early on. And of course, they also profess their love very early. They say, they build trust by saying that they care about you and that they, and then of course what follows is that you also reciprocate and then help them financially. The next type is investment or crypto fraud. So investment fraud is, to define it, is when someone uses either exaggeration, a false promise, or misleading information to convince you to invest your money. The goal is usually not to give you a financial return. It's usually to take that money and not return it. Sometimes they do it and, let's say you invest $1,000 and they give you $1,500 back. And then you invest $5,000 and they give you $6,000 back. And then you incrementally increase your investment and now you give them $10,000 and then they disappear. So you have to be careful about who you trust, especially even if they're giving you financial gains. I've talked to a person like this where they ended up investing $100,000 because in incremental levels, initially they invested a small amount, it doubled, they invested a little bit more and they received their investment back. And when they invested $100,000, they started receiving a little bit of it back, 1,000 here, 3,000 there. But then the person, after about 6 months or so, stopped being responsive. And so you have to be careful, even if you did see returns. So digital assets are slightly different, but also fall into the investment category. These are currencies that are available on the computer or on your mobile phone. And I think everyone here has heard of Bitcoin. And these are other types of cryptocurrency. Ethereum and Ripple are also just another form of cryptocurrency. But if you don't understand it, if you don't, and a lot of people exploit the fact that not many people understand cryptocurrency to advance these type of scams, to say, they understand that they're going to invest it or it's going to be worth a lot more. So in 2024, investment scams in DC, the total loss was around $11 million. And nationwide, I think we discussed it above, but it was 4.7 billion. So this is a very risky area. This is one of the highest and the one to be most vigilant about. So some of the red flags, of course, guaranteed high returns, almost no risk. They're saying that there's almost every investment requires a risk. Even if you invest in companies like Microsoft, there's always a risk, even if it's a low risk. But if they're saying that there's very minimal risk, even though it's a new technology or a new business, those are usually heightened risks. So if they're claiming it's no risk, that should be a red flag. It's pressure to act quickly. Like almost all scams, there's an urgency. So if there's a sense of urgency, it should always raise a red flag as to why there's a sense of urgency. Payment method, they've discovered that crypto and wire transfer are one of the highest ways in which scammers take people's money. So if they're asking you for crypto, it's majority of the time it's scam. Or if it's a wire transfer, you should also, unless this is a legitimate business or a family member, it should raise a red flag. No paper trail or contracts. This doesn't necessarily have to be true. There are people who sign contracts with no intentions of enforcing them. So although it should be an especially bad situation if there's no paper or contract, it doesn't necessarily mean just because you have a contract, it's legitimate. So if you look at the increase in investment scams in 2022 is about 3.8 billion. 2023, that went up to 4.6. 2024, it's about 5.7 billion. We're trying to bring this number down, not up, so we hope that consumers continue to get education and to be very vigilant when they invest their money. It is, and this is the FTC's reporting, only scammers demand a payment in cryptocurrency. So if anybody asks you that they only accept money through, they only accept payment through cryptocurrency, or that they're going to teach you because you need to learn how to use crypto, that you should immediately pause and talk to a trusted person, or you can also call DISB. So cryptocurrency as a payment is one of the sure ways to determine that it's a fraud. Never invest more than you can lose. So, not investing money that you put as emergencies or for rent or for other necessities. Always research investment thoroughly. So you do your own investment or have a trusted person invest it for you. And don't use BTM kiosks. So BTM kiosks are for cryptocurrency. We encourage people to avoid them. So this is investment in crypto asset fraud. This is just to break it down by age category. And I'm sorry, I don't know if it's visible. It was when I created it, but it might be. Okay. So between the ages of 60 and 69, the investment fraud tends to be the number one way people, and these are numbers for these specific age groups. So 60 to 69, it was $472 million loss. For ages 70 to 79, it's almost all of them have an investment scam. So although they're between 60 and 79 is the number one way people lose money, it is the fourth way people lose money when they're 80 and over. So romance scam is second for the age group between 60 and 69. And again, all of these are the trends we saw earlier. So imposter scam, government and business imposter scam are still in any age category. Investment and imposter scam and government imposter scams are very common. What you didn't see up there is tech support scam. So that still seems to be a problem here. So to keep an eye out for that. So where people call you and say they're offering, your computer has a virus, or they're saying that, they're going to help you with your computer, and when they're actually gaining information or access to your device. So again, these trends are consistent with the national trends. So stay vigilant in all these categories. So card skimming, this is a problem with a very simple solution. So card skimmers, what they do is they place another device on top of where you make a payment. So they then read your card and they retain that information and then use it for future purchase. So they now have after you swipe it, they now have your card information, and they can store it and use it for other purposes. The way you can do it is, you can avoid that is just by getting the EMV chip. So if you haven't updated your card, if you lose your card, or if you have ordered a card recently, they almost automatically include the EMV chips. But if you have not, I would encourage you to do that. That way, if you tap it, what it does is it creates a unique code every time you have a transaction. So even if they copy that, it's not useful to them in the future, because for every transaction, there's a different transaction code. So if you have not updated it, you're highly encouraged to do that. And government impersonation scams. So some DC residents have told us that they've received fake letters claiming to be from federal government. And usually they don't even ask for a lot of money. They say, you owe $119, and the fines, if you don't make a payment, are up to $10,000. And so, of course, most people would rather pay 119 and avoid any $10,000 fine because it seems minimal compared to $10,000. But they're just trying to get access to your financial information and to use it for future use. So usually when they are impersonating the government, there's, of course, a threat. If it's IRS, they say, they know that most people worry that they haven't paid enough taxes or that they somehow made a mistake. So they exploit that to say, we're calling you and you didn't pay this portion. So don't take immediate action. Just pause. It's usually the IRS doesn't call you threatening to fine you $10,000 unless you make a payment in a day. Verify the contact information. So again, Google it or ask a trusted person if what the legitimate phone number for that government agency is. And don't share personal information or, even if they tell you the wrong information, oh, we heard your, we have your social security as this. Sometimes they want you to correct them and say, oh, I think you have this number, or just don't, give any information because that sometimes that's a tactic they use. And you can always reach out to DISB for guidance. IRS is a very common way. Again, a common government agency. It's because it's a known agency to most people, and most people have to interact with IRS at least once a year. And so I don't know if everyone here knows what spoofing is, but what spoofing is when you call and assess that, when you pick up your phone, assess the IRS is calling you, but they're just, that's spoofing it. It's making it appear like the IRS is calling you, but they're actually calling you from a very different number. And so you're thinking your phone is telling you the IRS is calling me. So you're more likely to trust it than just a random number. But again, even if it says the IRS phone number, it's better to just hang up and call back from a number you Googled. They usually have fake badge numbers or agent number. They say I'm agent, this and that. Personally, I don't know the data on this, but personally, whenever I get these kind of phone calls, there's also chatter around them. I think because they're in a call center making these calls. So also pay attention to the level of noise that's coming in. That might get better with technology. So that's not really a reliable way to tell. But if you do witness that, usually government agencies have controls for that. I think one person is raising their hand.
Hello, Barbara / Alan. If you want to unmute and ask a question.
Yeah, I was told that the IRS never phones people. Is that incorrect, that their correspondence is always by mail?
Correct. Yes, they almost never call people. It's if you call them, of course, they interact with you. You can call them, but they almost never call people. They usually send you mail, and that's their primary way of interacting with people. So yes, that is also a red flag. The IRS likely will not call you unless you have an ongoing communication with them already. They impersonate familiar names or titles, so they might Google a title, and so if you Google the title, it might come up because they also have access to that information. And a lot of people's social security, the last 4 digits have been used and leaked, so that information might be available to them. And just because they have the last 4 digits does not mean that this is a legitimate. They might even have more information on you. They might have your address. They might have, some familiar information about you. But again, some of that is accessible online. And of course, they always threaten legal action or some type of a fine that's going to follow if you don't take the steps that they or make a payment. So the best thing to do is you can file a complaint with DSB. DSB is not the only.
Thank you.
So DSB is not the only agency you should report to, but even if you report to DSB, DSB would also help you report to other agencies. But we also have on our website other agencies you can contact that will be useful. And this continues to be an issue where people are asked to report to multiple agencies. At some point, I think that might get centralized. We can only hope. But at the moment, at least locally, report to DSB, and DSB will assist you with reporting it to other agencies. FTC is, of course, also another agency you can report to. We accept complaints in online form. You can mail it, you can fax it, you can come drop it off at our office, or you can email it. So you can even call us to file a complaint to say, you know, I am calling, but I would like to start a complaint. So once DSB representative, once they receive it, a DSB representative will reach out to you within 3 days. And that's not to say they'll resolve it within 3 days. They'll contact you, say that they've received your complaint and that they're going to start investigating. So again, you know, prevention is the most, reporting is highly encouraged if something happened. And every time I do this presentation, people pull me aside and say, you know, I have lost like $500 from my account. My bank can't tell me what it is, and I don't know what to do. And I've heard this countless times, and I always tell them to report it. I think people think it might be a one-time thing, or that they don't need to report it because they haven't seen any other amount lost, but definitely report it. If you can change your account information, change it like your credit card or your debit card, you can get new cards. You can let your bank know as well that, you know, that you think your account might be compromised, and they'll help you. If you think that you accidentally, let's say you purchased something or gave your information and you immediately realize this is a scam, then you should call your bank and freeze your account and say, you know, you don't want payment to go to whatever business, and just overall to freeze your account so that they can't take any more action. Again, be skeptical about unsolicited calls or emails. Set up multi-factor authentication. And I can elaborate. I think most people know, but if you don't know, let me know, and I can elaborate on multi-factor authentication. This might be very obvious, but use strong passwords and don't use the same password over and over again, especially, you know, your Netflix account can be the same thing as your bank account, because if that data gets leaked, you might also end up with your bank account compromised. Check your credit report regularly. So there's a annual credit, what you can get one report free, and I can drop the link for that. After that, you know, but at least once a year, if you check it, you can see if they're even if you've been defrauded and you didn't know. If you check your credit report, and let's say there's a 10,000 bill that you never received, that it's saying that you're behind on, that tells you that, you know, you may have been a victim of fraud and you just didn't know it. So that is not uncommon. So check your credit report, and also register for the National Do Not Call Registry. Feel free to write the phone number. You can call them, or if you want to do it online, you can also try to find the National Do Not Call Registry website and register your phone number there. That should minimize the cost you get. The other thing you can do, I personally, at our office, we get these trainings that we do regularly, in which we get phishing scams, which is more office related issues, because that's how they try to get access. And I find them very helpful, because it's not just, maybe it's not, I didn't know it, it's just a reminder to be vigilant. So I think we do it maybe twice a year. and it keeps my memory fresh on them. It keeps my it keeps me updated, and it puts it at the front of my mind. So if you want to do that, we have a Disby scam tracker. You can just open it and kind of read through it or skim through it and see if there's to just learn about the type of scams there are out there that could help you spot scams. So there's we have a type, definition, and an example of what was reported to us. And so that kind of gives you an idea of what kind of scams are out there. And it also has a submit a complaint. So even right there, you can, if you realize you've been scammed after you read it, you can submit a complaint. And at the bottom, if you scroll all the way down, there is additional resources. So it tells you all the other places you could report your scam if you have been scammed. The last thing I would say is if you think you've been a victim of a scam and you, I would say report it as soon as possible. That allows, the sooner you report it, the easier it is to recover the money. The longer the time goes, obviously makes it much more difficult. So there are additional resources Disby has. We do foreclosure prevention, reverse mortgage education. We also have estate planning, which is seems to be a very there seems to be a lot of interest in that department. We have a clinic coming up in October if you're interested. We have flood insurance information, mental health parity, and financial empowerment resources. And for people who may have student loans, we have a student loan ombudsman in our office. So you can contact us in all these ways. I'll pause it here for anybody who wants to write this information down. You can call us, you can email us, you can find it, you can find our website. We also have some resources on YouTube and Facebook and social media, other social media apps. You can also take a picture of this. And if you ever encounter insurance or other financial related matters or issues, you can give us a call. So there's a survey here if you want to scan that and fill out a survey. What is especially helpful, we love getting feedback. We love, we love stories. So even if you want to tell us about something that happened to you, you can write it in there. Or if there's education that we don't provide that you think financial education that would be helpful to you and that you want to learn about, we can also appreciate that feedback.
Thinking of stories, there's one that was posted into the chat from Miss Davis. Just yesterday, I got a call from Medicare indicating they're preparing to send out plastic-covered cards in lieu of the paper cards we have now. The caller wanted to verify the info on my card by selling them the info. My response was it made no sense to verify when I didn't have a new card in hand, and then I hung up. We also had in the chat a question, is there any particular problem with using credit cards at grocery stores?
I'll do the first one first. That is an excellent response. Hang up. That is, you did the right thing. That is, seems like that's such a classic tactic to be like, you tell me the information, let me confirm that what I have, and just, again, try to find another phone number that is legitimate, either through government websites or by asking a loved one. The second one, I'm sorry, can you remind me the question again?
Sure. Is there a problem with using credit cards at grocery stores?
So you can use your credit cards at grocery stores. Especially if we just recommend you use the chip where you just tap it and you make a payment versus swiping it to make a payment, because the chip it creates a transaction code that is just one time versus when you swipe it, they can retain your credit card information. So it's not that, I mean, if you trust the grocery store, it's just a more, it has more protections because they can't save your information. If you trust it and it's not, it's not some shady store that you think they've placed an additional device on there that captures your information. Trust your instincts. So like if you go to Giant, I think Giant would be very careful about it. Again, there's always a first time for everything, but if you go somewhere that is just doesn't seem that trustworthy, then I'd be more cautious to swipe my card. But if you don't have the chip in your card, it is highly encouraged that your bank usually charges either a small fee to exchange it, or they usually give it out for free because they want their customers to be protected. So you can talk to your bank about getting the chip. But again, swiping is safe in most situations, but if you do encounter that kind of device, it could be risky.
There was also a question was, how does the do not call registry work?
So the do not call registry work notifies businesses, and it blocks numbers that if you register on there, they're not permitted to contact you without because you're registering to not let them to allow you to contact you. So you can how you can register is you can go online and put your information. And again, I can share all of this information, so I can follow up after this to send this information. You can either register online or you can call that phone number and register through that. And that's not to say, I'm registered on the do not call registry. I still get a few phone calls still trickle in, and FTC reports on what kind of phone calls still come in, even though you put your phone number on there. But it limits the number of phone calls you get from businesses and from other organizations.
And there's one other comment in the chat. Gail says, recently I was waiting for a package delivery and got a call telling me to call a certain number to fix a problem. And is there more to that? Is it a question or just another example of a scam? Gail, if you want to unmute and add more details, that'd be great.
Oh, I unmute. It seemed to me that somebody had gotten in touch with, I guess it was UPS, and knew what was coming my way, and that they were making this call to get me to change the delivery place. And I tried to get the front desk that takes all our deliveries to be concerned and to put out a little notice, and they treated it as though, oh, that's nothing, it happens all the time. But it was new to me, and then it happened a second time the next day. So,
hello,
They were asking-
this is Iris. Could I add to that, Gail? Because that happened to me yesterday, and I was expecting a package, and I was suspicious. They said it was from UPS, and I thought the person who was sending me something said through the post office. And when I went online, followed their link to see another date, one of the things that became very clear was the first thing they said was, you need to pay $1.09 for a redelivery. And then there was the credit card data down there. And I was like, there is no way that I'm going to do that. So I would agree with you. It was, it's an easy fraud to fall into. And especially if you're expecting a package, and I did have to notify my concierge as well on that.
yeah. But it seems to me that it's a problem with the company. Somebody has gotten hold of their lists or something, but that's a big outfit. They will take care of it.
Yeah, it wasn't a UPS at all. And I think it might be coincidental, or they know that you're an online shopper, because my package, I could confirm with the U.S. Post Office, because that's how it's been sent, priority mail. And it was delivered a couple hours later, but this said UPS. And so it wasn't a UPS notice that I got.
Okay.
And like your point might be, just to talk to UPS and see if they can put out some notices.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Glad to get it off my mind.
Yeah, bothered me.
The one thing I'll add is to not click the link that might add additional problems. But you did the right thing, not giving your financial information, not sharing, not redirecting the mail. The part I find confusing about this is that sometimes they do legitimately call and say, I can't find your property. I mean, I get calls from Amazon saying, we have a heavy delivery and we need to, do you want us to do? So it makes it a little bit confusing, but usually they don't ask for financial information. I think, like Kay pointed out, and they don't need additional information from you. They don't ask you to redirect it. It's just they're trying to ask you how to best deliver it. So that is a good red flag. Thank you both. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry about that. Thinking about things like that, the ones that we just were talking about, or the one Miss Davis mentioned earlier, does DISB want people to report incidences of those where they haven't experienced a loss and may not have contact information or details about the person who was trying to scam them?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that helps us keep an eye out on what's happening. We usually, when that happens, it triggers. We ask you to report it to not just us, but FTC and other that keep the data. But if not, we share that information with your permission, so that people should report attempts and not just. I mean, that can be cumbersome, right? Because I get a text a day, so I can't keep up with emailing my own agency every day. But especially if you think it's something new or something that people, like the one you mentioned, I think earlier about the Medicare or Medicaid, I think that's very relevant because right now that's going through a lot of changes, so that people could fall for that. So some of the UPS messages I get, I just kind of, because they come in daily, I just don't report it daily, but especially for the newer items, I think that would be very helpful.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions that they would like to ask? You could either put them in the chat or you could unmute to ask or share a story about a fraud you've encountered.
I'm just wondering what's going on with they're recording your voice and using it in AI.
Yes, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually was I was emailing our investigators and asking, there's a lot of AI fraud coming up, and if we can get any update. I didn't add it because we didn't have a chance to really flesh through the information, but what they're doing is they go to a business and say that they have a voice recording of you consenting, saying that you consent to purchase this thing, but they're using an AI version of your voice that says you consent. So people are, shocked for obvious reasons and are they're saying I didn't say it, and the businesses don't know which person to believe because they have a voice recording that says that you're consenting to purchasing this item. So that's something that we're hearing and we are currently addressing. Of course, AI is going to bring a lot of challenges because, like you said, if they have enough sample of your voice, they can mimic it. So that's another reason not to pick up and engage with these. I usually, if I pick up a phone call and I don't recognize it, I just want to hear what they say, I stay silent. I don't say hello. I don't say, can I help you? I wait for them to speak. And if I sense that this is fraud, I just hang up. I don't really communicate with them for that reason, so that they don't record your voice and then later use it against you. But I think for that, because we're still working through these challenges, we're still working on how to address them and how to the tools the public needs to deal with this. Right now, I think hanging up, trying not to give any voice recordings to fraudsters is the best method. but we'll probably have an updated version of this presentation to make sure people know what to do in those situations.
I was thinking of doing something rather naughty and use my kazoo rather than my voice.
Yeah, yeah.
Or you know, something really obnoxious. A sound is really obnoxious.
You can type it into AI.
I can be very naughty.
You can play the same game they're playing. You can type your thoughts into a text to voice app and respond.
No, I don't use I don't use text.
Okay. Yeah, but
Anyway, I'm glad I gave you a laugh, Sudi.
Well, thank you everybody very much, and thank you very much, Miss Tasissa. Tasisi, I apologize. And thank you for joining DC Villages for this community conversation. We will continue to try and get out these sort of programs to people on a regular basis. So keep an eye on our website, dcvillages.org, and the calendar there. And thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And if you have any questions, please definitely reach out. My information is, I can share my information with Mr. Ross to share with everyone, but definitely reach out if you have any questions.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.